All right, guys, so we know the next step.
Dan Dillman has been following his late grandfather's research for decades in the hopes of finding a tunnel system that leads to Montezuma's gold.
My grandfather taught me that you have to really exhaust every avenue you can because you can easily overlook a very important clue.
All right, so far we've covered all of this area right here.
One of the things that my grandfather and uncles have always stressed to me was to look for signs and symbols, to look for those things that may be out of place. That's what I'm looking for.
I think the next place we have to start looking is right over here in the northeast corner of the canyon.
All right.
Right along here.
All right. Well, let's get the drone up in the air and let's see if we can find anything along the rims here.
All right, that works.
Cool. So what we're hoping to find in this canyon is a tunnel system, an entrance into a treasure chamber.
All right, here we go.
You see that right there? If we can get down right on the face of that.
Yep, let me almost land it.
You gotta be kidding me. I have seen this before. So one of the major symbols that my grandfather always told us to be aware of and to look for was the sacred water stone, or the water glyph. A water glyph is a stone marker that points in the direction of water sources. They can be anywhere from 1,000 to 2,000 years old. And this is significant because my grandfather also discovered one in Johnson Canyon.
In 1982, Raymond Dillman's research led him to Johnson Canyon, Utah, where he discovered several mysterious pictographs, an ancient burial site, and a water glyph. Raymond suspected that this stone may have been a sacrificial altar.
That's it. It's unbelievable.
It's crazy.
Finding the sacred water stone brings more credibility and more evidence that we are in the right canyon. What is it that we're gonna find? I don't quite know yet, but I do know that we've got the sacred water stone, and that alone is major. I'm gonna bring in an archeologist that our family has worked with for years to see what clues this stone can provide.
The Dillman team, along with archaeologist Aaron Jordan, are making their way along the canyon rim to inspect the water glyph.
Let's do this thing.
Aaron, an expert on pictographs of the Southwest, has been collaborating with the Dillman family for nearly 20 years.
I need some help decoding this water glyph, and Aaron Jordan is the only one on my team who has the knowledge and expertise to get that done.
So that's definitely a water glyph. We've documented close to 400 of these in the American Southwest so far.
Wow.
If you look down here, there's certain characteristics that identifies this as a water glyph. You got this oval. Often the line is going to be about double the length as the width of the oval or the circles. And then you've got line that generally marks and directs them to water source. It's imperative that they know where water is. Water is valuable as gold because without water, you die.
These markers, they're in stone, and so they will last for thousands of years. The Aztecs, when they were here up north, did they make these markers as they traveled south so they can make their way back to their homeland?
Water glyphs, like I said, they're oriented. So if you take your compass, so you can take a literal reading off of that thing. And so that's telling me that about 250 to 260 degrees is the actual bearing. And that would lead us to, we go 260 degrees out this way.
That probably leads us right to Shadow Cave up.
That's exactly what I'm thinking.
That water glyph absolutely is pointing in the direction of Shadow Cave. That's another major sign and symbol that my grandfather told us to look for.
Why pick out a specific water source? That's the question that pops into my mind. My perspective is if you're using this as a water trail, why not use it as an additional trail?
Right, and that's one of the things that we believe is that they have multiple meanings. You know, that you could have 2 to 3 layers of meanings to this symbol.
There's a lot of symbolism that we just really don't know.
Is it possible that these water glyphs, were they actually made by the ancient Aztecs? Because they would have absolutely come to a canyon just like this. A place also with such natural resources that they can engineer exactly what they needed to hide the treasure. This canyon is a prime location for Montezuma's treasure.
The Dillman family have hired mountaineering expert Keith Howells to rappel below the water glyph, or what Dan calls a sacred water stone.
Hey, Keith, you doing all right over there?
Yeah, doing well.
Cool. You find a good, solid spot?
Yeah, we got some really good anchors. This tree's gonna work really great. I think I'm right over the top of that crevice right down there that you were talking about.
The hope is we find a tunnel. We find a cave, something that leads into a bigger chamber, maybe even into the cliff itself. That's on the grand scale. On a smaller scale, even if we find some artifacts, what people have found in other areas, they'll find evidence of residence. So anything like that we can find will be a win for us today.
So we're sending Keith down the face of the canyon, right down the face of the cliff. And what's so important right now is capturing data. We need photos, we need video. I need anything that he can capture on film and camera for us, because I know what I'm looking for.
I'm just locking off. There's a couple ledges right here that I can get down to that are pretty wide. I think I'll be able to stand pretty good on them.
Hey, Keith, how deep does it look like that opening goes?
This crevice that I'm at right now, I can see some rock fall that has come down into this crevice, but it looks like I might be able to tuck up underneath there a little ways.
All right, sounds good.
It looks like this crevice goes back a ways. There's lots of rock fall, but it looks like if I go down just a little bit, I should be able to squeeze. It might be a little skinny for someone my size, but I might be able to look back there a little ways.
Up down to this lower ledge down here, this crevice looks a lot bigger, kind of undercuts. I'll see what's right in that one.
If there's a hole, if there's an opening, then there may be a pathway, or they're purposely covered back up and closed up so that one wouldn't even think it's something that you can crawl into.
So there's a nice platform right down here that I was able to stand on.
Pretty good size, so I'm gonna look back into this crevice here. It kind of goes back.
That's sacred water stone right there. And with what Grandpa told us, there's probably something here for us to find.
It doesn't look entirely natural. I don't know. It doesn't look like any of the other ledges and cliff faces that are right along here.
Hey, Keith, let me know what you're seeing up there.
This crack goes back quite a bit, and lots of rocks and stuff have fallen down. And
It definitely keeps going back. All right, I'm seeing an opening up here. I'm gonna get down here a little bit and check it out and see how deep it goes.
there's a crevice, and it looks like it goes back further in there. It goes back at least 4 or 5 feet before I can't see anymore.
I can't see all the way back there, though.
Looks like it might widen up in there a little bit further, but I can't quite tell with how dark it is. I can see a spot where it would go underneath here, but I'm a little worried about just my footing and how this rock is feeling, and I'm underneath a whole bunch of kind of loose rock.
Definitely be careful and don't go too far, actually. Try to just get the images. So just take some video, take some pictures, man. Safety right now is important.
It got real narrow, too narrow for me, and it goes back a little ways. It just goes from there. There's lots of fallen rocks. A lot of this rock seems kind of loose.
Let's get out of there, man. You got rocks above you and below you. We've got to figure out our next steps, so get out of there.
Yeah, thanks, bud.
So we need to take all of this data, the photos, the video, and we need to look through it. We need to see if it, in fact, is showing that we've got something worthy of investigating further.